Welcome to Connect at 51, the online Bible study of the Midtown Connect group from C3 Church, Manhattan. For those viewing this for the first time, this video has been created so that you can get together in a group and discuss the questions together. To do so, watch the video until you see a question screen like this, then pause the video and share your answer. Then continue watching to the next question prompt. The opening question is this: when have you told a lie? Who's lied to their parents to get their brother or sister in trouble? Who's lied to get out of trouble at school or fudged the scores in a game to win? Who's been flexible with the truth to get ahead at work? Or who's embellished their online dating or social media profile? The fact of the matter is that we've all lied. But have we ever really stopped to consider the very serious consequences that a lie can have? Just recently, a woman dubbed on the internet as Central Park Karen was captured on camera in Central Park calling 911 and claiming that she and her dog were being threatened by a black man, when the truth is that she was the one that was actually breaking the laws. In this day and age, an accusation like this can lead to the arrest or death of an innocent man. As sensational as this news may seem, unfortunately it's nothing new and has been happening for thousands of years. So for this, we'll go all the way back to Genesis 39 and examine what happened to Joseph when he was a slave in Egypt. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household and entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in his house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" So after reading this, how would you describe Joseph and Potiphar's wife? What actors would you cast to play the movie version of this scene? It is worth remembering that Joseph had recently been beaten up by his brothers and sold into slavery. He had been forced out of a life of privilege and now is a servant in a foreign land. Yet astonishingly, he works diligently, acts faithfully, and shows the utmost respect for his master. On the other hand, Potiphar's wife, who appears to be a lady of leisure, shows no faith to her husband and no respect to anyone. I imagine my movie version of this scene, there could be many contenders like James Franco or Miles Teller, but my winner for the role of Joseph is another Joseph, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And for Potiphar's wife, the femme fatales that come to mind, Angelina Jolie, Kate Blanchett, are all in the running, but my winner for this role is Marion Cotillard. So now that we've got a visual of the scene, why do you think Joseph is so diligent and the wife is so brazen? From earlier chapters, we learned that Joseph has a special gift to see visions from God. It seems that Joseph understands that if he can see God so clearly, then likewise God can see him clearly. And to that end, he doesn't work for the approval of his masters or his peers. Instead, he seems to work diligently as if he was working for God. He even states that the reason that he refuses the indecent proposal is that it's a sin against God. The opposite appears to be true for Potiphar's wife, who seems to act solely as if she's the center of the universe and accountable to no one. Let's read what she does next. And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by the cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him this story. "That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me, but as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." When his master heard the story his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me," he burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. After being refused by Joseph, what tactics does Potiphar's wife use to get what she wants? The first thing that we read after she is refused for the first time is that she speaks to Joseph day after day. This shows us that temptations are not just resisted once and done. The enemy will come to us again and again, day after day, to try and wear us out. The next thing that she does is she lays a trap to make him vulnerable. In this case, the household no doubt had dozens of servants and attendants, but today, for some strategic reason, it is cleared, leaving Joseph all alone with the temptress. From this we learn that we need to be prepared to deal with temptations not just in favorable circumstances, but also when we may be vulnerable. The tempting of Jesus in the wilderness also ends with the line that the devil left until an opportune time. And in the same way, we need to be strong and prepared for attacks that come to us at such opportune times. And after this, Potiphar's wife gets physical. She catches him by the cloak, and so in today's terminology, she escalated matters from just harassment into physical assault. And Joseph runs from this, but his ordeal isn't over yet. See, the reality of this situation didn't correspond to this woman's desires, so she takes things to the next level. She lies. So the next question is this: why does she lie, and what does this lie do? All of this woman's wealth, social standing, beauty, and manipulation cannot meet her desires. Ultimately, she's trying to control Joseph, to make him do what she wants. And now, she uses the power of the tongue and a lie to control his life. Now, it's clear that she cannot get sex from Joseph, so she shows the power that she can exert by lying. And this is a lie that will see Joseph lose his job, lose his freedom, and it's quite possible with an accusation this serious that it could conceivably lead to the loss of his life. This lie is a weapon, and it is used to exert power over Joseph and her reality. You could probably guess that after this, no other servant in that household would ever dare refuse her advances. You see, a lie is a shortcut to taking control of our reality and shaping it to our desires. We see this dynamic play out in the Gospels when the religious leaders in Jerusalem didn't like what Jesus was doing. They couldn't control him, so they too made false accusations and used the power of a lie to execute him. So now that we've explored the power dynamics of the situation, who do you identify with in this story? When we read a story like this, it's natural to identify with Joseph, an innocent victim to unwarranted lies and accusations. And while there is much to learn from Joseph and his steadfast faithfulness, there may be even more to learn by examining our own hearts and how similar it can be to Potiphar's wife. You see, from the opening question, we already admitted that we all lie. We tell lies to cover our insecurities and mistakes. We lie to get what we want from others. We manipulate others and control what they do. We lie to ourselves to mask our fears. And we lie to God in a futile attempt to hide our true desires in our heart. So when we come to this sober realization that lying can come so easily to us, what helps us to be truthful? Potiphar's wife was able to lie so brazenly because the house was empty and there were no witnesses. When there's no oversight and no accountability, it creates an atmosphere where lies can fester and grow. But where there is transparency, accountability, witnesses, and the confidence that the truth will come out, it keeps us honest. Let's return back to Central Park Karen and the incident that happened there. If she knew that the video of this incident would be seen by millions and that she would lose her dog, her job, her privacy, I'm sure she would have chosen a different course of action. You see, all lies will be revealed eventually, and the truth will be known whether it be now or in the future that awaits us with God. Joseph knew that even though the house was empty and there were no human eyes watching, God was all-seeing, and ultimately the truth will be revealed and justice will be served, whether it be on earth or in heaven. In the same way, when we start seeing things like Joseph and we know that God is watching our every step and hearing our every word, and he already knows our deepest thoughts, it will help us to speak with honesty, act faithfully, and live without the lies. So the final question to share in your groups is this: how does your behavior change knowing that God sees us?